This is an axial SCX24, this particular one, the C10. And for ages, the SCX24 was pretty much the standard of what you would expect from a 124 model. Now, these days, we have a gazillion different 124 models. And this is somewhat of a clone to that one. Hi everyone, this is Marcio from Bonnie's RC, and today you're watching the review of the Pinecone SG2403, and yet another Jeep. The Pinecone comes in this very small box, and there are initially 6 body shells that you can choose. The chassis, motor, and gearbox configuration is exactly the same for all of them, but you have initially 6 different body types to choose from. Comes with a small bag of goodies, which includes a relatively basic USB charger for the battery, a Phillips screwdriver, and a wheel hex. Comes with a manual, where you have all the basic information to know about your Pinecone model, which is actually quite a decent manual, to be honest. You have the essential exploder diagrams for the parts you want in case you break. You do have the part number that you can order separately. And it comes with something quite interesting, a list of body shells that you can buy. And the 3 that got my attention is these 3 similar Land Cruiser body shells. It comes with this very interesting radio. One thing that I don't like is I can't use this, I can't drive this with one hand. It's really, really difficult. However, this radio has a very, very interesting feature that you don't get to see on cheap or entry-level RCs. So you can either drive this car left or right-handed. You simply just swap this around. That is quite good. So apart from that, you have your normal steering and throttle settings and endpoints. You have your reversers, you have your on and off, and you have, curiously, on both sides of the radio, you have your LED buttons. The model comes with a 2S LiPo 7.4 500 milliamp battery, and this is the model itself. So looks like a Jeep, not licensed, but yet again another Jeep. But as you can see, there's an array of different body shells that you can buy separately and then pretty much slap on this chassis. It has somewhat of an interior, although fairly basic, and no windows, at least the front and the passenger doors. You'll have windows front and rear sides. And it's more or less a clone of the SCX24. So the wheelbase is more or less the same, slightly, ever so slightly smaller on the Pinecone. You can see that front axle ever so slightly more retracted. But in terms of, it's all plastic underneath, like the SCX24. It uses a 4-link at the rear and a 3-link at the front. And it uses warm gears. The chassis is more or less a copy of the SCX24 chassis, although the front bit here is slightly different than the SCX24. And Pinecone has found a relatively cheap and clever way to pin this. So what they use, if you can see, are plastic pins there that go into these holes here and there. Quite simple, dare I say cheap to achieve, but effective, because once you put these through, there you go, it stays in place. It doesn't come out. The only thing you need to be careful is that the LED lighting is wired to the ESC. So if you pull this with too much strength, you may pull the cables out as well. So be careful with that. It comes with a 2-in-1 ESC and a very, very, very small 25 sized motor. It comes with a 9-gram steering servo. Unfortunately, the Pinecone comes with friction shocks. It's not the best. I kinda understand for the price range that you would put friction shocks, but they are super, super basic. And for example, because this is a plastic body, the rear shocks, as you can see, doesn't even leave much space for movement. They actually sag a lot under the body's weight. The front ones, okay, but as you can see, that once you start putting weight on them, there's not much movement left there. So, and they feel cheap, really, really cheap. The battery goes in the rear, which is not good for weight distribution, but it is what it is. And when it comes to wheels and tires, I'm trying to put this back. There you go. So when it comes to wheels and tires, these are kind of glued on, so they're not beadlock, nor I would expect them to be beadlock at this price level. And speaking about the price, this goes on AliExpress, depending on where you are in the world, it goes for about £50 or $50, more or less, give or take. The tires are medium to hard, and there don't seem to be any foam inside. As you can see, it has an LED system, front and rear, and that includes fog lights. And it doesn't have indicators. Finally, thank you. Okay, enough talking, and let's test this, see how it performs. I'm actually quite surprised about the low speed modulation or low speed control of this model. As you can see, I had my reservations, but I'm pleasantly surprised that is actually quite good in terms of low speed control. It's really, really good. I'm impressed. I am impressed. And it doesn't whine, which is a good thing. I can't drive this one-handed, so bear with me on that one. The 25 size motor is okay, but I think it would struggle. I'm going to swap this for something else. A slightly different 3D printed obstacle, and I have to hold it in place because otherwise it's going to move. So as you can see, it doesn't whine at all, which is quite good. And I'm going to try and go as slow as possible. This is a brushed system, keep that in mind. Oops, there you go. Needs a bit of adjusting. And that jolting is the 25 size motor. It's not that bad at all. That's top speed. That's top speed reverse. And it's really not that noisy, to be honest. I thought for the price range of $50 or £50, more or less, it would be a rubbish ESC. I'm not convinced about the motor. I think it's probably too small for the overall weight of this truck, and I definitely don't like these shocks. But electronics wise, I actually quite like it. For £50 or $50, give and take, if you leave some money aside to change these hideous shocks and perhaps change these wheels and tires, I potentially change that little 25D motor. This is definitely a good purchase. For £50, give or take, for what you get, I think this is a good purchase. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all soon.